Hello everybody, I hope you're doing good today. Um, I've been trying to get my mixes properly. And to start with, hi Catherine. I know I'm like a couple minutes early. This time YouTube actually let me go in right away. Amazing, huh? What was I saying? I have to tell you right away that um, as the title says, it's Ammonite fossil. I'm not going to show you an opalized or an agatized Ammonite, just a plain Ammonite. Nothing more, nothing less. So bear with me a little bit as I'm doing some of these mixes. I already did the little Skinner blends that I needed. Hi Pamela, hi Lanka. So the Skinner blends that I did are actually, this one has Premo translucent and green. This one has Premo translucent and sunshine yellow. And this one has Premo translucent and sienna. And then in these, and it's all eyeballed, it's nothing really super measured, super ultra whatever. What I did though, what I do suggest, if you do have a proper white Premo. Hi Glenda, hi Gayleen, hi Karen. I'm glad you made it, Elaine. Hi Carlene. If you have a proper white, unlike me who still has some of the sticky white, just use your mud clay to color the white. Just use different amounts, so you'd get 3 different shades of brownish beigeish stuff. Hi Sharon. I didn't use, only in this one I used, in the left one I used mud clay. In these ones I used some old souffle that I hadn't conditioned previously, so that it might dry out a little bit, that white. You know, it's just an idea. So once again, hi Kanchana. You're traveling again. Are you ever at home, Kanchana? Oh goodness. As I said, I'm glad you're having fun and you can do that. I wish I still could, but you know, I did quite a bit of traveling when I was younger, so we always have the memories. And once again, for the ones of you who got in a little bit later, it is Ammonite fossil. It is not opalized Ammonite fossil. It is not agatized Ammonite fossil. It's just plain Ammonite fossil. That's it, pretty much. And I still have a few things to finish around the craft room, after which I can go ahead and get a new batch of clay prepped and conditioned for tutorials and stuff. And once again, I want to thank for everybody who was able to chip in and help me during my bad times. The news about the insurance, because of my $1,500 deductible, and because of the fact that the fence and tree issue was, the damage was done by actually the power company people, and my claim insurance guy checked, and it cannot be subrogated like, you know, my insurance to pay me what I need to fix it and then pursue it with the power company. They cannot do that. So the idea was that if I would go ahead with the claim, I would maybe get a couple $100, but I would definitely get a hike in the premium. So I said, you know what, just leave it, just to be on record there, because I'm going to try and slowly get back together. There's some people I'm talking to from a church nearby who might come and help me with the branch and the fence. We'll see. So again, thank you for everybody who chipped in. It really helped me get back on track. There were a few things that were of extreme importance to me, which one of them was the fridge, and I told you I had a neighbor who gave me the spare fridge they had in the garage, and it's working, thank goodness. It's a tad smaller than the one I had, but it fits fine all my needs. And the second thing was the microwave, because lately, in the last couple of years or so, I haven't been cooking much. I do use the microwave though. Like, you're gonna laugh, but mostly for 2 of my daily meals are comprised of frozen fruit and yogurt, mixed with yogurt. And no, I do not buy the yogurt with fruit from the store because it has sugar in it. And the one that I make home does not have sugar in it. But when I put in those frozen fruit, it's kind of hard to get them straight from the freezer. So I slightly soften them. And a few other things that I just microwave to heat up a little bit. And the various other things in the house, you know, like extension cords, little lamps and stuff. I know, Catherine. But, you know, hi, Lynn. But, you know, they were actually pretty good, like 8 years ago. We had for like a couple years in a row very bad severe storms, and my roof was badly battered. So because it was my one and only claim in so many years in Oklahoma, it didn't raise, and even if I have a $1,000 deductible, I qualified for the city's grant for low income. So I got a brand new roof without having to pay, and the roofing company guy took care of everything for me. All I had to do was he came at my house and I had to sign some papers, and that was it. The insurance paid and the city paid directly to him, so I didn't have to worry a bit. So in that respect, my insurance was pretty good. But as you say, Catherine, you pay a fortune. I mean, I pay with my $900 a month disability, I pay $225 a month. So yeah, which I know it's a lot, but in Tornado Alley, you, especially if you're poor, you cannot afford to go without health insurance. No, health insurance, home insurance. So, and the funny part is my car, I haven't been driving my car for a while because the lock on the driver's side broke, and it's like $400 total to replace it because it's an older car, so I have to order the parts from Korea if I cannot find it in a local junkyard, and then it's $200 something to put it on because it's that kind of stuff that they have to take off all the insides of the door to get to it. And because of my disabilities and fluffiness, I cannot go in and out from the passenger's side. But being an older car, I don't pay a lot for insurance. It's only like, because it's just liability, it's only like $20 a month. But even if I haven't driven it, I do not get it off my insurance, my package, because if I would get off that car just for the house, it would be like close to $250. So amazingly, it's cheaper if I keep the car. So yeah. But yeah, what I paid for the insurance really paid off. That's what I wanted to say. It really paid off simply by putting on a new roof. Those can be expensive. Okay, now what I'm going to do is not roll. I'm going to actually fan it, because what I need, and before I start putting together the cane, we're gonna look at a few photos. Because what I need is for this to be colored on one side only. And of course we are going to go a little bit through the anatomy of the cane, what we have to go through. It's not going to be, you can make it super realistic if you want to, but it's going to be close to realistic. Alright. Now once I did this, and I do have 3 different colors of wrappings, and they could be even browner. What do I have here? Let me actually, this is an alizarin crimson. Actually add some brown, some burnt umber. They're a tad too pinkish. Okay, so I'm gonna put this much here, this much here, and this much here. And while we are looking at the fossils, I'm going to mix here. So what you can see, for example, it's practically a snail structure, and the insides do have some agatized material in them. Let me try and get it. So as you can see, some of those are almost like little druses, some of the cells inside. Also, you will have, I mean, even if the ammonites are supposed to be perfect, their shells are supposed to be follow perfectly the Fibonacci formula. It depends, of course. Some of them may have some genetic defects. Some of them may be simply cut a little bit wrong, like you can see on this one on the right side, and as well as at the bottom. There's a little bit of defect in the, I would presume that the one on the right side is a defect in cutting it in half, while the thing on the bottom is the other thing that can happen during the process of fossilization. Some formations can occur that can invade, almost like a tumor. They can invade the surrounding fossilization processes. So in the one in the bottom, it may very well have been an actual tumor of the ammonite, but it can be a fossilization tumor, if we want to call it that way. But you can see that each of those little cells, they have various degrees of that fossilization, as well as in some of them there would be more or less fossilization, agatization. Some of it may have, and I'm looking because we are going to do the cut ones. Like this one, there are various, depending on the materials and the substances, the chemical substances that are inside. You can see how apparently in this one, and I'm talking about the one that I've gotten on the, you can see how there are two different types of materials, one that is whiter and one that is darker, and honestly to me they both look very citrine like. So generally speaking, the ammonites fossilize pretty much, they don't fossilize in a lithic, that is in a stone pattern, stone meaning like granite, for example. They fossilize in a crystalline form, and that crystalline form can be of two kinds. It can be agatized, or it can be more in the form of quartz, and in the form of quartz it can also present things like citrine like, not just quartz crystal like. And some of them can be mixed, or they can have the respective cell more or less empty. Like we can see here, some of these cells are empty, while some of them do have a agatized pattern, and some of them have a quartzite type pattern. Hold on, I saw another one here, this one. And as you can see, this one is cut a bit different. The only time you will find lithic type procedures, processes in a cell would be if there was any kind of intrusion, like various types of silt. And in silt, I'm not talking about sand, because sand is a silica, so it might help with the agatization. or even quartzification, depending on the temperatures and all that can happen in the during the process of fossilization. So, okay. My car is very old. My car is a 97 Hyundai Accent and it has 50,000 miles on board. And I mean, it really has 50,000 miles on board. The odometer hasn't been changed, nothing happened to it. It's just the fact that I was very blessed that I always, except for a few months, I always worked very close to the house, within less than 2 miles. And I live in an area in which everything is less than 5 minutes away. I'm talking about shopping and stuff. And almost done. Hyundai, not Honda. I know, I found how to order it from Korea. To order it from Korea, it's 290 something. So yeah. And yeah, why I really cared about my car and I didn't want to get a new one, not talking about the financial aspect at all, is that, as I said, only 50,000 miles on board usually doesn't costs less than $200 a month. If we are talking about tire change, the tires, 2 tires a month with rotation, it's $180 because it's small, and it still does, or did, 19 miles per gallon in the city. So I would always spend less than $10 on gas with it. So you can imagine why I kind of held on to it, even if it's old and it doesn't have all the gimmicks that modern cars have. As long as it took me from here to there and didn't cost a lot of money, I'm fine. I was never one to, I never understood the whole thing with, oh my god, look at my car, I'm so cool. No, I never had that. All right, and then I'm going to also use some plain white and a pinch of chalk. Yeah, the thing with that car is that the 97 model still had something that they removed from the later models, and that is you can switch from normal to economy in terms of gas consumption. And if you manage to maintain 35 miles per hour in the city and 55 outside of the city, you can get even higher than that. I mean, in its good days, I went to Oh my God, let me check how many miles. Because I went from Oklahoma City to Tulsa, one of my very few long trips. But I used to I did several years in the fall, the trip for the state fair. And because on Route 66 the foliage is absolutely stunning. But anyway, I did many times the trip to Tulsa and back with anywhere, so it's 106.5 miles. Anywhere from 3.5 to 4 gallons of gas. So good little car. And I know that specific lock had issues before when I lived in Texas, and I'm sure that the heat messed it up. My ex fixed it for me at the time, but then it blew again. So, well. And it was a good deal back in 2001 when I bought it. It was $6,000, and I got it at 22,500 miles. So yeah, I didn't drive a lot. Oh, this thing is so far down. And another thing that I'm going to need is a chalk pastel. So for some of them, I'm going to first grab some pure translucent. And you've noticed that none of them are very, I mean, some of them are kind of sort of similar, but none of those cells are identical. And at this point, I do want to. Oh, somebody asked me, can I use I just found in a drawer among other older things, I found some chalks, like the ones that you used to write on an old chalkboard or draw on the asphalt. Can I use those? Well, you can. I mean, it's not a lot of difference between the chalk pastels and the chalk for drawing, except that the chalk pastels are finer in grain, while the chalks for drawing and writing are a little bit coarser, because if you do have a microscope and you look, yeah, that is a pretty good deal. Pretty good deal. Because if you have a microscope, you'll be able to see the little shells that comprise the chalk. The chalk is actual little corals, not corals, skeletons, not shells. They're little corals, deposits of microscopic corals that just got together and got pressed. Yeah, I hear you. You can learn pretty good all that. Yes, I'm here. The one that I use the most, the colors that I've used the most in my chalk pastel thing are the white is the most used, then the light gray, the turquoise, banana yellow. But what I want to get here is that aspect of little bundle of crystals like you would have in a druzy. And you've seen some of those do have the whole druzy look. Now, how can you obtain the hollow in a cane? It's not very difficult. It's a very subtle little trick. You make yourself, if you want to make a druzy cane, okay, you make yourself one of these so that you can bunch together and create a little sheet out of it. And then you roll the sheet around coarse salt until you get a roll of it, which will be quite uneven inside. And I'm talking about coarse salt like the kosher salt you use for pickles, or like the salt used for ice. And then you place that roll among other, you roll over this with the salt inside, other stuff to create the illusion of amethyst or gray quartz or whatever you want to. But that is valid for anything that gets cut in slices. And you can put it as is, you know, even if there will be some salt left in while baking. And after you're done baking and you let it cool off a little bit, or you can put it directly in water, in cold water, and the salt will dissolve. So you'll have that pretty aspect of druzy. Alrighty, now I am going to get this thicker and wider. And we are going to place some of this inside it. It doesn't have to be super even. And I'm going to close it. Put this all the way back in here. Just make sure that it's well closed. And I'm going to do the same thing with these ones. And of course you'll have to end up baking it to see the whole thing. I'm going to post a photo on the both on the Facebook page and in the community tab after this is over and I'm baking the whole stuff, and sand it a little and buff it a little. But why you need that powder, and you can use other kinds of powder, of course, if you so wish. I wouldn't use mica powder because, again, we are not talking about any kind of opalized stuff, and not always in agate or in quartz you can see any kind of shinies. And you're gonna ask me why the green. Well, sometimes there is green, only that this one got a little bit too strong. I'm gonna get some of it out. And one thing that I don't want to forget to tell you, Trish at PolyClay Play has received and has a sale of Cernit gel, and that is the Cernit liquid clay, and she has a fabulous sale for it. Just please don't forget to use my affiliate link. And believe me, with the whole destash thing, I've been looking at the weather desperately because it's not like I'm getting any more room in the house. I really need to destash, but weather like, and I don't want to send stuff out without canes. That's not good in my book. But I cannot send raw clay in this weather. And I was surely hoping that come September, you know, it will get a little bit cooler. And it did get a little bit cooler, but now we are back at, so for the next week, we are looking at, let's see, let me show you. It is kind of okay, but all these hot stuff means we're gonna have a high heat index, but then we're gonna have again over 100. So this is not weather in which I can send out raw clay, because it's going to get quite a bit of baking on the way. And now with this one, what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply get it all consolidated. It might take a little bit because it's got powder in between, and that powder makes the clay not stick to itself. But if you're very, very stubborn, you're gonna convince it. And you can make more, but this will be for cells that don't show any other kind of things in them. Now, what you have to keep in mind when creating your cells is that you're going to have larger cells and smaller cells. But pretty much the stuff that's around the cell, that is the cells, things are very, the difference, you have to be aware of the fact that as you reduce the cell, the line wrapped around it will get thinner as well. So there's a very fine line here that you need to walk through in terms of to make it thin enough to not look stupidly white, but not too thin so it would get lost when you reduce it. So that's a little bit of an issue. So I think I'm gonna have a small one here. All right, so I'm going to reduce these some. And you want to reduce them in a rectangular slice. No, Darla, it's liquid clay. And Trish is supposed to send me some soon, hopefully. I mean, it depends on the weather and the temperatures. But it's the first high quality liquid clay Cernit has come up with. So I can't wait to try it because I have quite a few ideas about it. Yeah, I hope I answered. And you don't want to start too big. And you don't want to start too small either. But let me make sure that I don't lose my little thing here. All right, so I'm going to start at about half a 3/4 of an inch, kind of sorta, and I'm going to aim for about 3/4 of an inch, and the same. Now you want the next one to be slightly smaller. The same, the next one slightly smaller than the other one. Of course, you can go all mathematical and calculate the whole Fibonacci formula, but I'm not going to do that. I am going to eyeball it. I do recommend Kato, especially when it comes to number one, the Kato. I didn't try Cernit gel yet, so what I'm going to say is keeping that in mind, okay, that I didn't try the Cernit gel. But out of all the liquid clays, Kato's liquid clay is the best. It is the clearest, even in the colored versions. And yes, Trish has Kato liquid clay colored as well. But to obtain resin-like effects on curved surfaces, Kato PolyClay is the best liquid clay. I also recommend Kato for canes that are need to have very precise lines and straight lines and geometric. Yes, that was the next thing that I was going to say. But there's two caveats with the clay itself. Number one is what Elaine said. You have to make sure that you bake it in a very good, very well vented space. Because, and I don't know about other people, but my pets always threw up whenever I baked keto. And the other thing is that if you have weak hands, you will have problems dealing with keto, because keto is a fairly hard clay in terms of consistency. It's pretty firm, and as caning requires a whole bunch of handwork, you might have issues working with keto. So otherwise, yes, I do recommend keto translucent. Don't even bother with it. It's the worst of all translucents. The truth is, I did not work in a long time with keto because of my hands. So Donna Keto might have changed the formula on the translucent. You might want to ask Ginger at the Blue Bottle Tree. So, but otherwise it's a very good clay. And the thing that keto also has, it has pure color. That is the prime colors. So you can start with just the 3 primaries and black and white, and get all the other colors you want. They even have a color mixing thing on their website. So let's do this one. Tiny. I made too much of this. Oh well. Might even interfere a little bit there and there. This one too. Yeah, it's just the smell that's kind of off-putting for a lot of people. But it's a good quality clay. It's very resilient, it's very hardy, flexible, and at the same time there's a lot of hardiness to it. Okay, let me make one more tiny itty bitty one. Hi, Colleen. This one has to be tiny. And I said I was going to work a little bit on these two, because they don't seem to be the proper. I think this one too. I mess up? I didn't mess up. Yes, I did mess up something. I touched the very last one. Guess it's gonna have to be without it. All right, so I'm going to go with an 8. A lot of these I made them mostly for you to see how the colors would look like. And I'm going to make a 9. And I'm going to use some of the 9. All right. Now, before I do anything else, number 1, I need to round up the corners a little bit. And then hey, might not be the proper ones. And go to dowels. Hey. I think the dowels will do a better job than this. So you want to gently modify them, kind of with a little bit of a S shape, as you've seen the actual ammonites have. Going to get to the toothpicks, but kind of not yet. I see a little bit of an S shape. So I know I've been working for I've been testing for a long time for the opalized ammonites. I didn't come up with a solution that I was happy with, and you know me, I mean, there's a few tutorials about that out there, not mine of course, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it's kind of like the same with the Labradorite tutorials. They do not catch the actual fact that all those effects, all those flashes are a light thing, so you kind of have to go with the light, not with the color. I'm not trying to bash here. I mean, those tutorials are all beautiful, but that's my personal opinion. They don't really look like opalized something or another, or Labradorite something. So as long as I am not happy with how it looks, you won't be seeing it. That's the gist of it, okay? So you see, once I get to the smaller ones, I switch to smaller, to the toothpicks. And first one side, flip, and then press on the toothpick with the other side, so you'd get this kind of stuff. I shouldn't even bother with this, but I'm gonna bother just a little bit. All right, now grabbing the thickest one, going to start going in the on one side only. Don't go on both sides because you're gonna get the thing all too thick. Then the next one. And here I can switch to the thinner one. And once again, it will look quite different once it's baked. Remember that. It's going to have quite a bit of transparency. Just make sure that you continue on the same direction, that your little S's things are lined up with the previous one. Oh, like this. And at this point, starting from this point, I'm going to start pulling a little bit on my sheet to make it even thinner. Hi, Wanda. I am sorry, I've been kind of silent. Sometimes I do that, you know that, when I get caught in my thing here. I'm getting a bit too caught in my thing here. So again, pulling to try to get it even thinner. Continue this the same fashion, and it's okay if it's a little bit wider because you're going to trim it anyway when all is said and done. There'd be a different method of making this, probably. I'm sure somebody could come up with something better, but for now, this is what I came up with. I was actually looking at the some of the newest tutorials on YouTube. And the thing is that, number one, there are the immortal techniques. That's a given. That will never be, that will never go away. But then with the new materials and everything that we have been getting lately, obviously there's new and more beautiful stuff. On this, by the same token, there are some things that I wanted to say with that pertain to specifics. I'm going back to 7. Okay, let me go one more time with that. Nevertheless, what I was looking at, I noticed that there are still some no-nos going on, absolutely and indubitably. One is, and I do understand that some people do not have the possibility of sanding and buffing and stuff. Nevertheless, if you varnish, the main thing with polymer clay is that if you don't pay attention, because it's plastic, it will look like plastic. Kind of a self-evident statement, right? But if you're going to varnish it, depending on what you're making, the risk of it looking like plastic will go up even more. If you're going to varnish it sloppily, it's going to look like crap. If that makes sense. And what do I mean by sloppily? I've seen quite a bit of tutorials and WIPs with the varnish gooped up around little decorations and elements like little flowers and leaves and stuff. I'm sure that you know what I'm talking about. That makes the whole thing look very unprofessional, and not only, but very, I don't know how to even call it, very plasticky, very kindergarten-y. So that is still something that even in our day and time you have to be careful and do not try to avoid at all costs, because it's not good. It's definitely not good. Okay, so now I have it all put together, and what I need to do is to, number one, make sure that it is all well together this way, so in this direction, and then make sure that it is all together this way. And I'm going to place it at the edge of my working table so that I can flatten it even with the angle here. And this is how I'm going to work it, because it does need a little bit of elongation. that we can go ahead and roll it. All right, I think that we should be good. Yeah, and then the other thing that I get, I noticed it's again this mistake has been made over and over with people making stuff they like and then complaining that it doesn't sell. Well, you need to make things that customers like. So it's very important to, okay, I'm gently rolling it now. It's very important to figure out what social segment you are going to address. Okay, you stay here. Because it's not like customers are supposed to change their taste to conform to yours, because they are the ones paying. Hi, Hirasuna. Now you're going to have a step off here, obviously, but let's first cut it properly so we can see. If we have to insist anywhere. The main danger in making something like this is the existence of little holes, but even with that you can get away with it, because I know it doesn't look very, I need to do a little bit more contrast. So you can see it better. But I'm going to cut. So as you can see, it's the matter. Yeah, I know, Karen, but that's not I mean, resin is a plastic if it comes down to it. So this would be pretty much it. And I'm going to cut a slice and focus. And you can tweak the colors, you can tweak a lot of stuff. But as I said, it will not show properly until it is baked. So that's a very important thing to consider there. One thing that you might have to do is to go gently at the very end and do a little stronger cut here, because otherwise it's very difficult to reduce it like this. But once it is baked and nice and translucenty, as I said, I'm going to, yeah, that's another thing. I'm going to bake this and show how it looks like. All right, so as you can see, as what I was saying, this I could have gone, so you might want to go even thinner on on the lines in between, but you can already see the little agatized, faux agatized stuff there. See, I'm trying to show it close up enough that you can see the so-called agatized parts in there. So this is it, and you can choose different, just look at photos, look for Ammonite fossils on Google, and kinda you can create your colors more to your like, or but this is the principle. On, as I said, I need to finish arranging here and then get my next batch of clay conditioned and ready, because right now I'm running on a few colors and mud clay. But I'm still not done unpacking all the clay that was transferred to my neighbor. So this is how you create them. You can make different colors with the little Skinner blends here. You can make different colors with this, and again, I did them a tad too thick. You might want to go even thinner than this. And remember, you can go very thin if you use the Salon Pass. You can buy Salon Pass very cheap at the dollar store. And what I'm talking about with the Salon Pass, it's that that patch for, okay, let me get on the display again. You want the one that's for the pain relieving patch. You want the one that's for the back. You want the large one. And on Amazon, I don't know how much it is, 10 or 60 count for $10, but I'm sure that they have cheaper one. I know that at the Dollar Tree I get them 2 for $1, and I usually use those 2 for 6 months. But these come in between 2 sheets of very, very thin kind of acrylic sheet. I don't know what it is. And you can put the clay in between those sheets and go through the machine on a thin setting, and it's going to come up super thin. So yeah, I hope you enjoy and you try to make this. As I said, I'm going to post some baked stuff so you can see how it looks like, and I will see you next Sunday. Stay cool if you're in the warm area, and fingers crossed for everything. Thank you so much. Stay healthy and stay happy.